Hello there, my name's Sue Shardlow. I'm the Developer Community Manager here at Redis. Thanks for joining us for our show today, this week on Discord. It's my favourite time of the week, actually. And it's not because it's the weekend. It's because I get to talk with my good friends and colleagues about what we've been chatting to the community about through the week on Discord. And what I really love about this show is it shows how, it's getting a bit soppy, but it shows how we work together with the community and the nice interactions that we have. And actually, we don't have to filter out any bad interactions because everyone in the Discord community is cool. So if you want to join us on Discord, it's free to do. You don't have to pay or anything. We don't charge you. Go to discord.gg/Redis and you will be let in. We will show you the code of conduct when you get there, and then you're in. So this show, for anybody who has not watched this show before, it just highlights a few of the topics that we have talked about in Discord that have been raised by the community. So folks have been asking questions or sometimes giving us a bit of feedback about what we've been doing, and we like to highlight them on here. So we do anonymize everything just so that people don't get people's names aren't shown, but if you go to Discord you can have a look. So yeah, for the purposes of this, we don't show anybody's name, so that's all good. So any episodes that you want to catch up on, we have been running this series for, I think this is the 15th week. It's been quite a long time anyway. So we're running it for a few months. So if you want to catch up on any of the episodes, go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Redis Inc. and you will get all the recordings there. So yeah, today I'm joined, the crew is back together again, the full gang, Justin, Simon and Savannah. Please join me in the mix.
Hello.
Hello, good people. Justin, please please use your voice sparingly because you woke up today and realized it's not all there, is it?
No, it's a little out there. It took a break, but yeah, I'll be sparing but important. Only important words.
Yeah, you don't sound too good, so we'll go easy on you today. But yeah, only today.
Like Suze is always just like, you don't sound good. Or like last week, she was just like, Savannah, that was a phlegmy cough. And I'm like, yes, Suze, thank you, I know.
It's probably because I'm old enough to be your mother, Savannah. So I notice these things. I'm like, look after yourself, but you still have to go to work because you're not that ill.
Not that ill.
Yeah, exactly. My mom was a nurse and I got no sympathy from her at all. Yeah, it's like I probably had the best attendance record at school ever because I used to have phlegmy coughs and I was never allowed to stay at home. So sorry to all my classmates that I spread the germs to, but yeah, blame my mom. So yeah, Justin the Frog Castilla is here with us today. Savannah, how are you today? Who have you got? You've got 3 ducks and how many cats?
Yeah. None that I can see, which is terrifying. So
yeah,
who knows where they're off to? Because
normally Summit, the ginger cat, as soon as you start your meetings, he's there.
Yeah, he's usually. I already kicked him off my lap once before we actually went live, so I think he took the hint.
Oh dear. I hope there's no revenge.
He'll like stick his claws in you every once in a while, and I was just like, not today.
Not today.
I think he took the hint and scurried off somewhere else.
Yeah, you do have to be a bit worried then because you don't know whether there's some revenge in your near future. You might get a nice surprise.
You never know.
Yeah.
How are you, Suze?
I'm good. I'm glad it's the weekend. But also, Simon can attest to this. The temperature here in England has dropped by probably about 10 degrees Celsius, which if you go in Fahrenheit is a lot. So it's basically freezing. And before it wasn't. Like you could go out with a jeans and t-shirt. It would have been a bit chilly, but not that bad. So yeah, I don't really fancy going outside at the moment. How about you, Simon?
No, it was defrost the car day today. And if you watched my live stream yesterday, I said it was cold then. It's not gone really above freezing since then much. So yeah, best to stay inside and, I don't know, do other things, I guess. Hopefully it proves the weekend.
Yes. So please send good wishes to us. I'm just glad that my house doesn't take that much to heat. So I feel really thankful, because there's a lot of people struggling at the moment with trying to heat their houses and stuff, because the fuel prices have gone through the roof. So yeah, I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
Cool.
So different. I've got the back door open to the patio. It's 66 degrees Fahrenheit here. It's a comfortable fall day.
I remember what that was like about a week ago. Yeah. Oh well. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
It'll get cold here pretty soon. In about, I want to say, I looked at the forecast, and next weekend it's supposed to start getting to freezing overnight. So I think they'll be about a week behind you with cold weather.
It's below freezing during the day here, so you've got a little.
Never mind. Just kidding. Ew.
Yeah. Okay. Shall we get started?
I suppose we shall.
We shall. We did have a comment in the comments. Somebody wants to have Redis OM for Golang. Yeah, unfortunately, that is not in our near future.
But it could be in yours if
Yeah.
you want to take that up. Redis is open source. You are welcome to take a look at the OM libraries and see what you can do.
Yeah. It would take probably quite a long time, so only if you've got quite a lot of spare time. But yeah, certainly for those who are willing and able, we are very happy to receive contributions. And Captain Codeman, thank you. Captain Codeman is one of our certified Redis geeks who joins us in the audience for these shows almost on a weekly basis now. And Captain Codeman, I think you're in North America, if I remember rightly. It's warmed up here, only goes down to minus 15 degrees C. Okay.
Ooh, that's
That
cold.
is, yeah, you don't even need a freezer to put your food in, do you? Just put it outside and hope none of the local animals eat it.
I'm going to say that's Canada.
I think Captain Coburn said they were in Canada, yes. Oh, yeah, I remember now, because we were talking about Black Friday deals, Cyber Monday, and Captain Coburn said that and we were talking about different Thanksgivings in the USA and Canada. It's all coming back to me now. Good. All the rest of you who are watching, please don't be shy. Let us know where you are dialing in from, and we might give you a shout out. Probably will, you know. Right, good. Let's have a look at the first question. So Savannah's going to take this one. Somebody is trying to find and sort by using a particular field from an embedded JSON model in Redis OM Python. And Savannah is our go-to person for Redis OM Python. So
indeed. So I'm going to start off with I should make that bigger. You can see here, we've got a book that is a JSON model. If you are subscribed to us on Twitch, you might know that Justin and I have been going through RU204, which is JSON and searching, and we use the Redis OM client for that. So I actually had a perfect example for this, pretty ready to go. We've got our JSON model, and then we have this metrics, which is an embedded JSON model. And the score for that, it's basically like the rating from Goodreads for these books that we're working with this data set. So what we found is that you can search for that just fine. In your query, you can do book.find, where book.metrics.score. So that's just kind of indexing into that embedded JSON model. And you can put whatever query parameters you want right there. But unfortunately, you can't actually sort by an embedded JSON field right now. We've made an issue for it on GitHub, but because of the way that it's looking for a string argument and the way that the OM model creates those strings, you can't quite do it yet. But, and I did, this is in Discord, or you can screenshot it, screen grab it, watch the YouTube video later. But the way that I found easiest to do this was to get the result set that I wanted. So I'm looking for bad books that scored less than 3. And then for R, which is a terrible variable name, I definitely should have made that better, but that's okay. In my results set, I'm looking for badbooks.append the title and then the metrics.score again. We can access that the same way. And then I just used a nice little Lambda function to sort. So this .sort takes default arguments, but for this tuple, because I have two things here, I have to tell it sort of how I want to sort this list of tuples. So I tell it that I want the second part of my tuple because it is 0 indexed. So x at 0 is the title, where x at 1 will be this metrics.score. And then when I print my bad books list, you can see we've got the lowest score, the next lowest, etc., etc. And if I wanted it the other way, I would probably just do a reverse on that, or I believe there are some other arguments that you can pass to sort, but the default is going to be ascending. So we start at the lowest score, go up, and that's how you can get back a sorted list with an embedded JSON model field.
Nice. Good. Thank you. That was a very clear and concise explanation. It's always
Thanks.
good when
A little bit of a workaround, just because you can't use that metrics.score in the actual sort by, but not too hard of a workaround. Pretty quick.
Yeah. Some questions are like that. Other questions are even easier. Some of them take a lot more hard thinking. That one was kind of Goldilocks style, wasn't it? Just right.
Just right. Just
Cool.
the right amount of effort. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let us go to, let me find my slides again. The next question. Mr. Prickett. So, Simon, hello. Let me just put you a little bit higher up so we can all see you because we're doing the banners. Hello, is there a way using the node-redis library to add a value to the JSON document that is above the roots? Good question. For instance, I want to add a timestamp to documents instead of to documents dot value. So they're asking about metadata for a JSON object with Redis JSON. Simon.
Yeah. So, what's at the root in a JSON document? Well, it's your JSON document. So there isn't any concept of things above the root. So there's a key, which is your key name, and there's a document. There isn't like a document plus metadata. So there's a couple of ways you could approach this that we sort of work through. And if I share my desktop, and I'll do the same thing, if this could probably benefit from being a little bit larger, then what we've got here is this was specifically a node-redis question, but the client and the language don't really matter because it's how you store the data in a database. So this applies to anything. So we've just got some preamble here that connects to Redis. And then what we're doing is using JSON set. So set a JSON document. Here's its key. So we're going to call it example object no metadata. And this is the path that we want to set. So we're setting the root. So we're initially storing something here. And what I'm storing in here is this small JSON document. It's got two things. Imagine this is a photograph that we're doing some sort of like social media processing on or something. We've got an image name and we've got some alt text. So we know it's something to do with the Patronus Towers in this picture. And that's all the application needs about this data right now. So how do we then retrieve that from Redis? So we can get all of it by saying JSON.get and then give it $, so the path we want, so all of it, and you'll get back what you expect. And so the question was kind of like, how do you store stuff outside of this document that is somehow associated with it? So there's a couple of ways. You could create a whole extra key, right? So you could say, if this is your actual data, you could prefix it with something like data : and then you could create another key that's got the metadata in it that has another JSON object in it and just do like metadata : so then you've got two things. That allows you to separate them out into different keys. Maybe that isn't the greatest idea because then you've got to manage two keys and you've got to potentially do two network trips to Redis for some things. So probably a better option would be to use the fact that JSON has these paths, and instead, let's store like your actual document, give it, at the root, we'll put your document as something that's underneath the root. So it's in this thing called doc, or you could call it anything you like. And then I've just made up some example metadata that I've then put in meta. So we've got a timestamp, and we've got a location, which is about where the Petronas towers are. And we've got a user agent of somebody took this photo with an iPhone 7. And then you might say, well, what if I only want to get this document back and I don't want all the network traffic for all of the metadata all of the time? Well, what you can do now is pass in a path that isn't just $. So you can say, I want a $.doc and just get that back. Or I just want the metadata. Or if you want all of it, you just do $. Or if you just want the metadata timestamp, you just do metadata.timestamp. And that was kind of it. And then we can just kind of, let's see what it's all this. We can just run this, and you'll see that if we get the no metadata object, originally we just get that thing. With the metadata just doc, so where we moved that into $.doc and we get that back, you get exactly the same thing. So there's no extra data transfer across the wire. If you wanted just the metadata, that's the other top level object that's in there. And then if we wanted just the timestamp and nothing else, we can do that. So basically it's about your document design. So I'd recommend putting it all in one thing. So keep everything to do with this one entity inside the one key, because JSON gives you that flexibility to have different objects, embedded objects, arrays, and all of that stuff. And then the pathing system lets you deep query into that without spending a lot of network traffic on bringing stuff into a programming language that you're then just going to throw away. So yeah, that was about it for that one, I think.
Cool. So yeah, we talked about this before, and it's a good rule of thumb generally if you're working with databases to really think carefully in the beginning how you want to use your database. But really, I mean, this is a good rule for life for me generally, because my favorite question is why. So like, why are we doing anything here? Think about what you want to do. And if you've already designed your database, why have you done it that way? And really think about what you need to get out of it, what you need to put in, how you're going to use it. You might not know 100% of it in the beginning, but at least if you've actually given it some proper thought, you're setting yourself up for more success, I think. So yeah, if you do that, it should help. I dropped a couple of links to commands in the chat. I will just quickly show you the commands page on redis.io. So you go to redis.io/commands, then you will find all our commands, and there are probably more than you think. Like every week we come on this stream and we're like, oh, we found this command. So yeah, you can see, I don't know if you can see because it's really tiny, which only goes to prove my point. On the right-hand side, the little scrolly thing is tiny because there's just so many commands. So yeah, go to redis.io/commands if you want to check those out. And I posted links to the specific ones that Simon mentioned just now in the chat. So the other thing as well that I would like to mention at this juncture is RU204, which Savannah and Justin are currently working through together every day this week, which covers things like this. Do you folks want to quickly talk about what you're doing?
Yeah, we're just exploring that data set. We're going through each day and looking at what sort of like the highlights of like the lessons are, and then just sort of, I ask a lot of questions. I phrase my hand even, that way I don't forget them if Justin's talking. And then when he gets through a point, I'll ask whatever question I had in mind, and we'll explore the data a little bit more. We've had quite a few little tangents because we're working with a books data set, and Justin and I both love to read. So you want to come hang out and hear us explore a data set full of books that we enjoy, you should definitely come and join us. Today is our last day doing it, so we're covering the advanced topics section of the course, which means that this is going to get into like wild aggregations and queries and just doing some fun, cool stuff that is a little advanced.
I love that. So you're doing RU204, but you're also having a little book club at the same time. You're so efficient.
Yeah, we're just that efficient. So far, it's mostly been books that we've both already read that we talk about a little bit. We haven't quite gotten to just like reading a book on screen yet, but you know, today's the advanced topics day. You never know.
You never know. You know, homework might have been read a whole book overnight.
That's fair.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. Let me quickly show folks Redis University. So those of you who aren't familiar with this, we have this thing called Redis University. So whenever we mention RU and then a number, it is the code of a course that we have at Redis University, but we call it Redis U, etc. So if you ever hear us say RU, then it's Redis University. So yeah, to get to Redis University, which is absolutely free, university.redis.com is the website that you need. And the course that Savannah and Justin are talking about is RU204, storing, querying, and indexing JSON at speed. So if you want to sign up for this course, it is free. So everything on the Redis University site is free. You can sign up for that. You have, at the moment, about 4 more weeks that you could spend on it. So each course run is 6 weeks long. We're currently 2 weeks into the current course run. As you can see on the right-hand side there, it started on the 29th of November, ends on the 12th. Depending on your comfort level, how much spare time you have, and I guess your own individual pace at learning, you don't necessarily need the whole 6 weeks. So Savannah's learning in 5 days. That is one extreme. But yeah, anywhere between 5 days and 6 weeks is how long you can take. So you can, if you want 4 weeks, you can join today. Take up to 4 weeks to do it. If you want the full 6 weeks, then come back on the 13th of January and do the course. Then.
Yeah. And real quick, if you're here and you are like, oh man, JSON stuff, come hang out just for today. You can go ahead and register for that course, and you don't have to go sequentially. Like once you've registered, you can go look at the web pages for the advanced topics. So if you're someone that is pretty familiar with JSON and you want to be able to follow along, like you can go register for that course right now, and then in an hour, come back and ask Justin and I questions as we look at it.
Yeah. Has your cat taken the course?
He's been here for a lot of it, yeah.
I think he's taking it in, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's been very subtle about how much he knows, which is always the worrying thing about cats. Don't really know what they're thinking. But yeah, I'm sure he's absorbed quite a lot. Yeah, probably subliminally because they sleep a lot, and you know, if you hear things while you're sleeping, it tends to go in deeper, doesn't it?
That's fair.
I think so. Yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks, Simon. Let's move on to question 3. And you might want to turn your volume up because Justin's throat is not happy today. So, Justin, this is right, isn't it? I'm using Docker with the following command. What is the username here? It's like a riddle, isn't it? I like
it
that.
Is a riddle. It is a riddle. The answer is just in plain sight. So you see the require pass example. What's the username? Well, when logging into and starting up a Redis instance, the user is always default. So there's no user, but there is a user default. So you don't really have to worry about setting a user when first starting. But there's always a caveat. If you're requiring a password, then you're going to have to require an actual user. And to get into that, you're going to want to get into ACLs. That's an access control list. And let me just show you real quick here. So what you're going to want to do is first log in as a user. And to create users, we're going to look into ACLs. Access control list, you basically create a user and a password if you want. And you can actually limit what they can and can't do. And this is extremely important because when you have different applications touching your database, you only want them to have the minimum amount to do their job. You don't need them to do extra. You don't want an application that is checking a cache to be able to flush the database. You don't want some sensor that's writing to a certain key to be able to access and manipulate some other key. So this is actually extremely powerful. And I'm going to give you an example here. So the default user, I think ACL, who am I? So I'm logged in to a default database, very simple, nothing going on. And it's a Docker image as well, and it's just default. So if I want to see what all my options are, I'll do ACL list. And here I have two different set users. You'll see first default, and that's going to be all access. They can do whatever they want. It's quite dangerous. So on means that they're active. No pass means there's no password. The tilde and star means they have access to everything, so they can do all commands. And the ampersand and star means they have access to all pub sub. And that plus at all is just another phrase for just they have access to everything. That's a shortcut. And then there, of course, is documentation that covers all of this. But I just wanted to show you a top level to get you excited about security. And then the second list item, user Justin. Now, this is another user that I created, and they are also active. And then this big hash salad here, that's a hashed password. And I set them to only be able to access keys starting with RU204 colon star. And they still have access to PubSub, and they only have access to JSON.get commands. So this user can only read JSON. So let me actually log in as that user, auth Justin, and don't look at my password. And now it says, okay. So now if I do auth, who am I? I can't even call who am I. I'm not even allowed to do that. So if I try to set a key, let's try this. Example, attempt. Nope, no perm. I'm not allowed anything. But since I only have permissions to call JSON.get, here's an example of me calling up a book object from RU204. I'm still allowed that. So it's really a good idea to set up ACLs within your application. It's just part of production, part of deployment. And yeah, I think that I might have over-answered this question, but there's a huge field of thinking and a huge world of security that you really need to consider when creating your application. And we have a big write-up. We actually have a big update with Redis 7 that you want to check out as well. It's going to be coming out. But yes, the default is the root user, the root sandbox, if you will. And if you want to still work with in Redis University, we do offer the Redis security course, which is RU330. And you'll have videos outlining how to set up ACLs, how to increase like TLS encryption within your connections, things like that. And my voice is clear and I am healthy on these videos, so you don't have to listen to a frog talk. And yeah, it's not the longest course in the world, but it is very helpful, and it has a lot of kind of cheat sheets that you really should be like using or keeping or retaining. Also, it has Jamie Scott as an instructor, so he'll be speaking as well as Kyle. So it's a lot of fun. And yeah,
cool. Thank you for that. Yeah, that was quite funny when you said about your voice was clear in those videos, because then it occurred to me like, yeah, we wouldn't like ever expect anybody to record something when they weren't well. But if you did, and then that was the only thing anyone had ever seen you do, they would just think that that's what your voice was like. Because I remember when, so coincidentally, Simon put the Petronas Tales in Kuala Lumpur on his demo earlier. But so I'm half Malaysian, and I went to Malaysia in my teens and met quite a lot of relatives for the first time. And one of my uncles had a really like sort of croaky voice. And I just thought that was what his voice was like. But it turned out he was actually not well. And his voice was actually very clear normally. But yeah, he just sounded croaky that week. So it was funny. But yeah, when you record something, you just sort of crystallize in that moment in time, aren't you?
Right. I feel like I should be recording some movie narratives. In a world where Redis is the only in-memory database, 4 people meet once a week to talk about Discord questions.
The only one. The one and only, definitely. You should record some trailers for all the videos that we've got on our YouTube channel today. Make them capitalize on this situation you're in and get all of those done. So that's something you can do today.
I should.
Yeah, I think the thing with that security course as well is people are like, oh, security, that's a really dry topic. Some of the videos in there are kind of good fun because Jamie, the presenter, really got into the spirit of I'm going to dress up and have a lot of props. So go check them out. Yeah,
each segment each section has its own Redis security horror story, and it is really scary because it shows you what could go wrong. And everybody likes seeing that. So.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the course shows you how to fix these things rather than just like these are horrors of security.
Fix and prevent as well, because prevention is better than cure. But yeah, I was just going to say that actually, like Simon said, you might think this is a really dry topic, but actually, if you don't do the proper things, then the outcomes can be really exciting, but not in a way that you particularly want. So it is an exciting topic in a lot of ways. Cool. Thanks for that, Justin. It's not something we get asked about a huge amount, so it's always nice to get a reminder, isn't it?
Yeah. ACL, we don't use it in most of our videos because we're showing proofs of concept and new features, but under every single deployment of production Redis, there should be a very strong and robust ACL list. I only say that once a month, and that was my robust a month.
And it's a short month in terms of like working days because we are all going to be taking part in various festivals at the end of the month. So yeah, you got that in just in time. I think the thing you've got to remember again, like you said earlier, is think about why you've got your database, what you're going to get out of it, what you're going to put into it, what's the purpose of it, and also whose data you're putting in there. Because a lot of the time, it's not just your information, it's other people's. You've got legal obligations and all of that good stuff as well. So, really think about it. And, bare minimum, think about how you would feel if your data was in a database that wasn't properly secured. And it's not just going to be your favorite sandwich and all of that stuff. It's going to be some serious stuff. Although, if your favorite sandwich is one of your prompt questions for your bank, then, you're in big trouble if somebody didn't secure their database. But, yes, have a look at RU330 Redis security if you want to know more about that. Again, the course is free. Again, it's got about 4 weeks left to run on the current run. So might be a good thing to do over late December if you have time. Cool. Let us move on to the next question. So Simon's going to take this one. And they're like, is there any nice way to tally data in Redis? Like, there's loads of really horrible ways to do anything in any way, in any type of coding. And there's always a really nice way too. So right now I'm setting tokens, some JSON with ID in it. Every time I set this, I'd like to add 1 to a weekly tally for the ID on the same connection so I can use the tally in dashboard statistics. And I would argue that this kind of operation is quite common when you're storing data. You want to increase it, you want to decrease it, you want to compare it against other stuff. So I think this thing is useful for a lot of people to know. So Simon, tell us, you're the counting king when it comes to Redis.
If people watched my live stream this Thursday, we actually did some counting of different types of jobs that a hotel front desk might be asked to do. So fetch towels to room 207 and 918 wants a taxi and the cleaners need to go to 304. And I looked at different sorts of counting. So how many times have we requested a taxi for anyone, and how many times has a certain room requested anything, so that we can sort of tell who our needy people are, if you like. There's the answer is with a lot of these things, there's lots of ways you can do this, and basically try it out and see. So what I was going to do was run through a few of those ways. We are going to stick to deterministic counting, which is counting that's going to be correct. There's another whole like probabilistic data structures thing going on with Redis that we've got a lot of content for that I'd encourage you to look at because that's a lot of fun. And that is answering things like, well, what if I want to count things and be approximately right? And you can go discover why that might actually be a good idea sometimes on our content. But generally, if I was counting something in Redis, I've got a blank Redis database here, and I'll turn on the auto refresh here. And this is Redis Insight, a graphical management tool. And down here, I've got CLI, so I can type commands. So if I wanted to count something, so let's say I was counting like, I need a key. So we could say something like, I don't know, get new users or something. If I was counting like a route or a route in an API, how many times has that been used? I can do that. And like a couple of things have happened here, right? So number one, I've created a key, didn't have to tell Redis that I was creating a key and I wanted to store a number in it. Part of the fun of Redis is it kind of does these things for you. You have to write lots of if this, else, that type stuff. You just say, add 1 to whatever is in get new users. And if get new users doesn't exist, you kind of get what you would expect, which was originally 0, and then it added 1 to it. So like every time we go through and hit that route, I could do that. And if I turn on the auto refresh up here, you'll see it's following me a lot. And somebody was asking basically what's the cost of this, and the gets can be super computer expensive. Well, the gets are basically free on this because all you do is just get new users and you'll get the value back. There's a slight complexity that Redis actually treats these as strings. So you'll see here it's got quotes around it, whereas when I treat it as a number, so increment it, it doesn't have quotes around it. So that's one way you can do it. So let's delve that. Another way, if you want to keep your database a little bit more organized, would be you can use a Redis hash. So you could, for example, use h incr by, so hash increment by, and then we could call our key something like routes, because we're going to use this as like a holding pen for counts for all of the routes. And then we could have like get new users, and let's say 10. And again, did I create that thing explicitly? No, it was implicitly done for me automatically. So I've now got a hash, and in here I've got like field values of all my little routes. So if I had another one in here, so I had like get user by ID, and we wanted to say that's been run like 5 times, what you'll see, and let's turn that back on, is that we're building up like I've got one key here, and we're building up like an organized collection in here. I think the original question as well was they were storing JSON data. So going back to the previous question that I answered, let's clear this database out. So here's the previous code that we had where we were messing with JSON data. So we had a document like this, right? And then we started to put metadata in the document. So if you're storing your data like this, what we could do would be put in a field like this, just add a count field, so that when we store this, what we'll see is that we can then mess around with that. So I'm just going to run that code, which should hopefully create that document. So there we go. It's got a count of 0. And then let's go back to Redis Insight over here and see what it looks like in there. So one of these keys, there we go, example with metadata. So you see Redis Insight has a nice sort of way of looking at this. So we've got a count field in here, and then we've got our document separate from our metadata. So here, if I want to get the count, I can just do json.get example object with metadata, and then I can say $. Where did I put it? Meta.count, and I get 0. And then what if I want that same sort of increment behavior? I can do JSON.number increby. JSON has data types as well, so it knows that this is a number because I put it in there. So let's call it another 15 times. And now it's 15. And if I turn on the auto refresh or just refresh it in here, there you go, we've got 15. Let's turn on auto refresh and make it a little bit faster. And then if I say here, then now it's 15 plus boom. It's all right. Let's turn off auto refresh because it's going to keep closing the document every time it does it. So now it's 37. So 15 plus 22. And then obviously under here, I could have that sort of hash arrangement if I wanted. So I could call this counts and then like have subkeys and build up anything you like. Is this expensive to call? Again, not really, because we're just putting stuff into a path in a JSON document and the data transfer across the wire is minimal. So yeah, that's sort of better. So okay, let's be a little bit completist. And the other way that I could count things, if I want them to be kept in a sorted way, would be I could do a sorted set. So I could do Z or Z encrypt by or last letter of the alphabet. We have this like every week. And I could call it counts, and then I could say the thing that I want to count, and then I could say get new users. And now I've got a sorted set, and this doesn't allow duplicates. So it's kind of like my hash in some ways, but if I do this and add some more to it, you'll see that we've got 4. And then if I do something like this, you'll see that I've got 3. So this kind of looks like the hash, but the access patterns are slightly different. And Redis keeps them sorted for us. So we can ask this data structure questions like, give me the 4 highest or the 4 most often called routes, or the least called ones, or the ones that are between values 3 and 5, or whatever you like. And all of that sorting is pre-done because it's done when you store the thing. So querying it is, again, quite cheap. So that's kind of like a lightning guide to what we'll call probabilistic counting, and deterministic counting, and we'll save probabilistic counting for another day, but that's kind of a whole load of fun around very, very large data sets where it's not practical to necessarily accurately count how many different license plates have I seen, and an estimate will do.
Yeah, and again, I have posted the links relating to the commands that Simon showed you in the chat, so feel free to check those out. If you can't remember the specific links, just remember redis.io/commands and then search for the relevant command that way. And this show is not just a vehicle for advertising Redis University. It just so happens that Simon, Justin, Kyle, Alvin, and everybody else who's involved in creating courses for Redis University basically thought of almost everything when they put together the courses. So if you want to learn more about the types of data structures you can use with Redis, spoiler, there are quite a lot. Go to take RU 101, Introduction to Redis Data Structures, and not only will you learn about the building blocks of Redis, you'll also learn about some of the commands that Simon has talked about just now. So some of the really common ones that you might want to use. So it's a really, really good foundational primer to Redis, but it's also a really good refresher if you've been using Redis for a while as well. And like Savannah is taking RU204 this week, I did a similar thing last year with Justin, and you can find all the videos of that on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Redis Inc. if you want to check those out. Cool
Yeah,
beans.
I think one proof of, this show isn't just a vehicle for go sign up for Redis University is we don't yet have a course for probabilistic data structures, but we do have a lot of content on YouTube, and you'll have seen like me, Savannah, Guy, Steve, other members of the team talk about them in different languages. So go check out their YouTube if you're interested in those.
Yeah, it's always a fun one, because that's the selling point is like, why would you need to know if it's maybe in there? And people are like, oh, they're immediately interested, aren't they? So yeah, it's always good. Oh, I think I've just frozen. Did I just freeze?
Nope, you're
Nope.
good.
All of you just froze. I don't know which end that was then. Cool. That was really weird. Okay, let's do the last question before everything goes down the tubes. So Simon is going to talk about this one, and Justin may chime in if his voice is good. So this person wants to know how to make sure Redis client is connected and ready to use in a Node.js and Express application that uses node-redis, which is one of our JavaScript clients. So they want to know how it's guaranteed the client will have been connected by the time the server has started with this approach. They thought if you called an async function without using await, the program could potentially terminate before the promise was fulfilled. I guess I don't really understand what you're supposed to do in this case, because you can make every function async up the call chain, but eventually you're going to have to call the async function at the top level without using await. So there's quite a lot to unpack there. There is another slide. So Simon, feel free to advance to the next slide whenever you're ready.
Okay, so there is a sort of a little bit missing from this question that was kind of in the, it's hard to capture the conversation in Discord sometimes when it's threaded in amongst other things. So the obvious answer here would be, oh, just use top level await. So basically, if you await a client connection in node-redis, it's going to stop doing things until the promise resolves, and then you know that your client's connected, and then you can go ahead and start your web server and rely on being able to make database queries or whatever you need to do. This person, and it's not that uncommon, is working in an environment that hasn't adopted a version of Node that has that yet. So they have an older version of Node, and there's a couple of ways around this. So basically, you've got two things that need to start that are sort of asynchronous. So connecting to Redis and establishing a client, and starting an Express server so you can listen on an HTTP port. And they want the second thing to only happen when the first one's finished. So there's a couple of ways you can do this. We on the DevRel team aren't actually going to answer this, because this was answered for us by our colleague Labale, who's the maintainer of node-redis. So he was basically kind enough to come back and give this person an example of an Express server with, you know, a couple of example routes that just do stuff that rely on Redis actually being connected and working. And then down the bottom there, rather than use top level await or any other sort of trick with creating a function, all he's just doing is basically reminding us that you can still use promises. So, you know, await is a syntactic sugar on top of promises. So you can just do client.connect and then just do .then. So when the promise resolves, and then in the callback that happens when the promise resolves, you start your Express server, and then you're off and running. So I think we wanted to pick this one up for two reasons. Is like, number one, it's a little bit more sort of programming concepts as well, because this doesn't have to be Redis. It could be anything else that you need to be up and running in the background. You know, it could be like a socket connection to some API or who knows what, if you're you're streaming data. And also because this wasn't answered by the DevRel team. So that's it really.
Yeah, and that is a good point. So we, the DevRel team, look after the Redis Discord server, but there are a number of colleagues from within the Redis company that are also on that server that come in and chat to folks in the community and help out with any questions as well. So it's definitely not just us answering all the questions. And if you come into the Discord server, you get to chat with us, but you also get to chat with a lot of other good colleagues from Redis, the company too. Good. Okay. So I put a link to node-redis in the chat for anybody who wants to check that out. Again, that is another client that a lot of community members have contributed to. So that again is open source. Especially in Hacktoberfest as well. We had quite a number of people contributing some good examples to that, some good code samples and things like that. So that was really cool. So let's have a quick look at our schedule for the coming week or so. You can find the schedule at developer.redis.com/redis-live. If you go there, you will find a little table. It's got 3 tabs on it: upcoming events, recurring events, and past events. So let's start with past. Let's do it backwards. Past events. If the thing was recorded, so in other words, if it was streamed on YouTube and Twitch, which is basically everything apart from Redis University office hours, then we will put the link to the recording in here so you don't have to go foraging to find that recording. So like I said earlier, we've been running this particular show for a good number of months now, at least 15 weeks, I think. So just pick whatever date you want and click and see. Simon has worked very hard to chapterize all of those videos. So he's put some links. If you go to YouTube and look at the recording, you can see the questions that were asked, and he's put the timestamps on so you can jump to there. And we've got things like Justin's stream on Mondays as well. Savannah streams on Tuesday. Simon streams on Thursday with Internet of Things stuff. And we stream on Friday with This Week on Discord. The only thing, like I said, that is not streamed is weekly Redis University office hours. So if you're taking a Redis University course, or you have watched our stream and you're curious about it and you've got some questions, then come along on a Thursday and join us in Discord. We have a voice channel in there. If you don't want to talk to us, if you're a bit shy to do that, that's completely understandable. We have a text chat in there as well, so you can do that. But come along and have a chat with us on Thursday. We always love to know what you're thinking. So yeah, that is our recurring streams. And then upcoming, we'll ignore the first one because that happened yesterday. The next one is the one that's happening now. And in about, how many hours time would that be? 3 hours time?
34 minutes.
34 minutes, right, okay. You're going to be doing your final installment of RU204 live together. So yeah, anyone who wants to be live, check that out. Yeah, it is the only opportunity you have to interact with Savannah and Justin live. So if you don't want to do that, watch the recording. But if you do want to come in and type some things in the chat and get a good chat going, and then join them in 33 minutes time. And then, yeah, after that, it's Simon's Things on Thursdays. Next Thursday, Redis University office hours, and This Week on Discord next Friday. So next week's This Week on Discord is going to be the last one of 2022. We are going to take a little break on the 23rd and 30th of December. So we'll be back in January with that, but we will definitely be here next week for This Week on Discord. Now, do any of you want to plug anything or fill in any gaps that I missed? Because I said a lot of words there, but I might have missed something.
I think you got it all for me.
Yeah, I'm going to take a couple weeks off the live streaming the same 2 weeks. So I'll be doing one more on the 15th of December where we're playing with node-red, which is like a graphical drag and drop way of building workflows in Node. And we're using Redis with that. And we'll probably actually start using some hardware. And then I'm going to give it a break for a couple of weeks.
Cool. Yeah. So like I said, Savannah and Justin are doing RU204 today. It's the last day. So Savannah should be getting her certificate very soon. That is something that I forgot to say when we were talking about Redis University. So if you successfully complete a course in Redis University, you get a certificate, an official certificate from us, which, like I said, you don't have to pay for, that you can even put on your LinkedIn profile. So it should give you a... It will indicate a level of achievement, like a standard level of achievement in those courses. So if anyone's looking for Redis expertise when they're looking through LinkedIn, then it may help them to find you. So it's definitely worth doing. Anything else before we close today? I feel like we are such pros at this, right? I really don't mean to blow our own trumpets here, but it's our show, so we can do what we want. Like every week, we finish just before the hour or right on the hour. And me personally, I'm hosting this gig and I don't look at the clock at all. So it's just pure skill, isn't it? Yeah.
I think so. It also gives Justin and Savannah a good 30 minutes to reset, change brain cartridges, and get back into search mode.
Reset, read the docs, read the books, get ready, do the homework, because you don't want teacher to tell you off first lesson of the day, do you? Cool. All right. With that, before it turns onto the hour, I'm going to say goodbye. Goodbye, everybody. See you next week. Look after yourselves. Bye.